There was a time when finishing a game meant something. You'd beat the final boss, sit through the credits, maybe watch a weird little cutscene you didn't fully understand. And then, that was it. You were done. The game let go of you. You could have put the controller down, feel satisfied, and move on with your life like a normal human being. Nowadays, though, now you beat the final boss and the game immediately asks if you've checked the shop. And that's the weird part. Not that games change is normal, but that finishing a game quietly stopped being the point. Somewhere along the line, games stopped being things you completed and started becoming things you maintain. Like a garden or a job, or a Tamagotchi that charges you $20 for a new hat. We don't really talk about this shift because it didn't happen all at once. No one announced, hey, by the way, games don't end anymore. It just sort of happened. Menus got bigger, roadmaps appeared, seasons rolled in, and suddenly every game had a 10-year plan, even if it barely survived year one. This is where the live service model comes in. On paper, live service sounds great. A game that grows over time, new content, new events, a world that evolves alongside its community. The problem is that somewhere between the promise and the reality, the ending quietly disappeared. And with it, the feeling of closure that made games feel complete in the first place. Instead of asking, did you enjoy the experience? Modern games ask, how often did you log in? Instead of designing a satisfying arc, they design a loop. And loops are dangerous. Because loops, they don't want you to stop. They don't want resolution, they want retention. The moment a game ends cleanly is the moment it loses you. And in a live service economy, losing you is the one thing a game is never allowed to do. So now we live in a world where every game wants to be the game. The one you play forever. The one that owns your time. The one you feel guilty for not checking in on. And the result? A lot of games that feel busy, expensive, exhausting, and strangely hollow. In this video, I want to talk about how we got here. How live service went from an exciting idea to a design trap. And why games not ending anymore might be one of the biggest reasons so many players feel burned out without knowing why. Because games weren't always like this, and they don't have to stay that way. When live service first showed up, it wasn't framed as a way to drain players dry or keep them trapped in menus forever. It was sold as something genuinely exciting, almost generous. The pitch was simple. What if a game didn't die after launch? What if developers could keep supporting it, adding new content, responding to feedback, and letting the community grow alongside the game? And honestly, at first, that idea ruled. Updates felt like gifts. New maps dropped out of nowhere. Balance patches meant devs actually cared. Events felt special because they were rare. You logged back in because you wanted to see what changed, not because a timer was screaming it at you. Early live service success stories worked because they still treated the game as a complete experience first. You bought the game, played it, finished it, and then stuck around if you liked it. The live service part was an extension, not the foundation. That's the key distinction. Somewhere along the line, support turned into dependence. Instead of asking, is this game good at launch? Studios started asking, can we fix it later? Instead of building a strong core experience, games began shipping with the expectation that future seasons would fill in the gaps. The game wasn't finished, it was scheduled. Roadmaps replaced endings. And roadmaps are dangerous because they train players to look forward instead of inward. You're no longer judging the game you're playing, you're waiting for the game it might become. Every flaw is excused with next update. Every missing feature is justified by it'll come when it's ready. Live service stopped being about evolving a game and started being about sustaining attention. That's when the incentives changed. Developers weren't rewarded for making something memorable. They were rewarded for making something sticky. Not something you love, but something you checked. The success of a game wasn't measured by how it made you feel, but by how long it kept you around. And once engagement became the goal, everything else bent around it. Content stopped being designed to complete an arc and started being designed to reset. Events became seasonal, not because it made sense, but because it kept the wheel spinning. Progression systems were stretched, padded, and throttled just enough to make sure you didn't hit the end too quickly. Because hitting the end was no longer a victory. It was a failure of the model. So the original promise, a game that grows with you, quietly turning to something else entirely. A game that never lets you leave. A game that's less concerned with delivering an experience and more concerned with maintaining a relationship. And relationships based on obligation don't stay healthy for long. Okay, so here's the part that makes live service feel less like entertainment and more like a weird, unpaid internship. Modern games don't just want your time, they want your routine. Daily challenges, weekly quests, limited time events, battle passes that expire like milk. None of these systems exist to make the game more fun in the moment. They exist to make sure you come back tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. This is where engagement quietly replaces enjoyment. You're not logging in because you're excited, you're logging in because you don't want to fall behind. Because you already paid for the pass. Because there's only 3 days left in the event. Because skipping today means tomorrow's progress will feel worse. That's not play, that's maintenance. And the most insidious part is how normal it feels. The game never tells you, hey, this is work now. It just layers obligation on top of fun until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You finish a match and instead of feeling satisfied, you feel relieved, like you checked something off a list. FOMO does the rest of the heavy lifting. Miss an event? Too bad. That cosmetic is gone forever. Miss a season? Now your progression path is slower. Step away for a month. Welcome back. Everything feels worse now. The game subtly punishes you for having a life outside of it. And here's the cruel irony. The more time you invest, the harder it is to quit. That's the trap. You don't want to abandon the progress you've made. You don't want to waste the money you spend. You don't want to admit that the thing you've been maintaining for months maybe isn't making you happy anymore. So you keep playing. But the fun doesn't scale with the time. It flattens. Then it fades. What's left is fatigue. A low-level exhaustion that follows you from one game to the next. This is why so many players say they're burnt out on games, while still playing them every day. It's not that games stop being fun, it's that too many of them stop knowing when to stop. When everything is an ongoing commitment, nothing feels special. When every game is competing for your attention indefinitely, they all start to blur together. Seasons replace stories, checklists replace moments, and the idea of starting a new game feels overwhelming because you already have 5 that are mad at you. This is the cost of designing for engagement at all costs, and it leads directly to what we lost when games stopped ending, something we didn't realize even mattered until it was gone. Back in the day, endings used to be the reward. Not the loot, not the cosmetics, the ending. That moment when the music swells, the screen fades, and the game says, You did it. Credits rolled not because the developers ran out of content, but because the experience had reached its natural conclusion. And that mattered more than we realized. An ending gives a game shape. It turns a collection of mechanics into a journey. Everything you did meant something because it led somewhere, even if you never played the game again. It lived in your head as a complete memory. A beginning, a middle, and an end. Live service games do not want shape. They want continuity. When a game never ends, nothing can fully land. Big moments are immediately undercut by the next objective. Emotional beats don't get time to breathe because the menu pops up and reminds you there's a limited time event happening right now. The game doesn't trust silence. It doesn't trust reflection. It just keeps going. Replayability used to mean a choice. You finished the game, liked it enough, and decided to return. Now replayability is replaced with permanence. You're not revisiting the experience, you're stuck inside it. There's no distance, no nostalgia, no sense of that was special. It's always present, always updating, always asking for more. And because nothing ends, nothing becomes legendary. Think about how many classic games you remember vividly. Not because they lasted forever, but because they did. They respected your time, they told their story and stepped aside. That restraint is what gave them weight. Endings also gave players permission to stop, to feel satisfied instead of guilty, to move on without feeling like they were missing something, to appreciate a game as a finished piece of art instead of an ongoing service they failed to keep up with. Without endings, games blur into obligations. Progress turns into upkeep, and the emotional connection weakens because there's no finality to anchor it. It's ironic. In trying to keep players forever, live service design often makes games easier to forget. Which brings us to the last question. If this model leaves players tired, games hollow, and studios stretched thin, can things actually change? So I just want to preface this by saying live service in itself isn't evil by default. That's important to say, because the goal isn't to pretend the industry can just rewind to 2007 and ship everything on a disc with a cool manual. Ongoing support can be great, communities can be great, games evolving over time can be awesome. The problem is when a game is designed to never be complete. The live service games that actually work, the ones players stick with without burning out, understand something simple. They still let you leave. They have seasons, but they also have stopping points. They respect your time, they don't punish you for stepping away. They don't make you feel like you're failing the game by not logging in. More importantly, they launch as full experiences. They don't rely on roadmaps to justify missing pieces. They don't ask for patience instead of quality. They give players something whole and then build on top of it, not in place of it. And here's the thing, the industry is starting to learn the hard way. Players are tired. We're seeing live service games shut down faster than they're announced. Studios betting everything on the next forever game and collapsing when it doesn't hit impossible retention numbers. Even the biggest publishers are quietly admitting that chasing infinite engagement isn't sustainable. You can't build art entirely around metrics and expect people to stay emotionally invested. Endings are healthy for players, for developers, and for games themselves. An ending does not mean a game has failed. It means it fulfilled its purpose. It means the experience respected you enough to let you go. And ironically, that's often what makes people come back later, when they want to, not because the timer told them to. Games don't need to last forever to matter. They just need to matter while they last. And maybe the real trap of live service isn't that games don't end anymore, it's that we forgot endings were the point. Maybe the best games don't last forever. maybe they're supposed to end, so we can remember them, miss them, and one day choose to return. Because a game that respects you enough to let you go is one worth holding on to. Thank you for watching the video. If you made it this far, I just want to thank you again. If you did like the video, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you haven't checked already, I do have a Patreon now. It's only $1, but it goes a long way. Thank you again.